Yeah, it's really, literally, you and one other person. And I didn't get that yesterday. I feel guilty about it too. But not so guilty that I stayed up and did it. Let's see. Email. Okay. I'm trying to get stuff emailed to the schools, because it's graded papers for this class. Well, that's SPC, I copy all of y'all's and save a copy so I have them graded, because people tend to throw them away, which is not very smart. When you get handed, you keep something in, okay? Don't ever, if you ever get it back, you will. Come on. Okay. This is, okay. They're gonna come on, I'm gonna be sitting here going, you're gonna have to give me just a second. I have had to change the schedule. Yes. Okay. Because I just saw enough problems with the outlines that were due last Friday that we needed to slow down just a little bit on this essay. So, that's what we're doing. Okay. There we go. I mean, and I left half the stuff because I have to go scan it, and I left half of it in here and had to come back and make another trip. It's like, okay. I gotta watch what I'm doing sometimes. Let's see. I only had one page of Rodney's paper. I was like, good heaven. I don't know what I'm doing. So, I just have too many stacks, I guess. I was in a hurry and rushing. And then my husband goes, I can't find the remote. My husband doesn't move well. Let me just phrase that, okay? This should be 2 for Women Union. Okay, we'll hope so. All right. Y'all give me just a second. I've got graded essays that I need to send back to your facilitator, so I'm doing that very quickly. Okay. And there's Women Union, and there's Les Buddy. Okay. Everybody's there. If you may have gotten an announcement telling you that the schedule has changed for the next week, and into the next couple of days of next week. That's not where I was supposed to be. Okay, what just happened? Wait, there's drafts. What? Okay, I did it. Okay, so Coach, I'm gonna send yours to you real quick, the 2 that are left. And then we'll talk about the change in the schedule. And part of the reason is that I saw in yesterday's sections, I saw less than what I was hoping for in the outlines. And a lot of people were just totally confused. So we're slowing down by a couple of days. Does anybody else have trouble with the jumping cursor in Word? I have it all the time. I'll be typing, and I'll stop and think, and my cursor's jump back in the middle of the previous word. Okay, let me get this. All right. Okay, Women Union's down at the bottom. I have made the changes to the schedule, have gone into Blackboard, so it's on the checklist. And we're pushing back is what's happening. Just because, like I said, I just didn't see enough positive things out of that outline. And I'm trying to figure out why I put more time on the narrative and less time on the outline, on the compare and contrast essay. That's me trying to figure out a schedule and not realizing, I was doing this like the week before school started. And sometimes you just you don't give enough time to do something. So I'm actually kind of pushing in a little bit. Okay. All right. So let me go in. Let's go look at course content. I'm going to look at week 6, which is what we're in. Yeah. There's only 16 weeks in our semester, and the last week is final, so things are moving quickly. That's one way to look at it. So. And then I noticed there was also a glitch. I don't know if it was in your syllabus or the other one, but I had somebody taking grammar quiz too, next week too. So I had to go over that. So when you look at the schedule, we're going to go over the outlines today in class. We're going to focus on topic sentences. Let me get rid of this left menu and then make it bigger. Okay. On Thursday, we're going to go over the PDF set. There were about 5 pages in it, plus a correction one, gives you side-by-side examples of block and alternating or point by point. We're going to go over that on Thursday. On Friday, you're going to turn in a draft of your compare and contrast essay to Blackboard. There's one place to turn it in so that I can glance over them. I'm going to tell you, I spent way too much time glancing over drafts on the narratives, and people didn't pay any attention to what I wrote. So that tells me don't spend my time doing that. That's what that tells me. So all I'm going to look at will be the thesis statement and topic sentences and nothing else. So I'm not going to help try to correct your grammar, because if you're not going to pay attention to what I say, why waste my time? Okay? But you're also going to there's a discussion board to do peer revision in. You have work over the weekend as a result of me pushing back the date. And so what will happen is you will upload you'll just upload, you can copy and paste it in, or you can upload it as an attachment, a copy of your essay. And you must comment, you must do peer revision on 2 other essays. You choose the 2 people you want to do out of the discussion. Does that make sense? I'm not assigning it. In other words, if you guys want to look at somebody from Wellman Union or LASBuddy or the SPC Health Center kids, look at somebody else's. Don't look at the person sitting next to you. That's all I can say. But you have to do that by Sunday night, by midnight, to get credit. And it's actually going to work into something that's extra credit, because I'm putting 25 points on doing that peer discussion to help you out. If you don't do it, your problem. You don't get those points. You also have to take the grammar quiz number 2 over subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement. Make sure you have those 2 pages. That should help you make 25 on that, okay? So you'll turn the draft of the compare and contrast in here, so that's there. Here's peer revision comments on CNC drafts. That's going to disappear. Watch this. I'm going to delete that, because you're going to be doing the discussion board instead. So that'll actually give you about 12 and a half extra points is what will happen, because I'm taking that out. I don't want you to tell me who looked at your papers, because what happens if nobody chooses your paper? So that's why I have to get rid of it. So there's the quiz. It won't open up until 8 a.m. Friday morning. Here's the compare and contrast discussion board for peer revision. So when you open it, create thread. It will give you the instructions up here. You can copy them if you need to. It says create a new thread and copy and paste your essay into the thread. It's easier if you paste when you create the thread, if you paste the essay in there, then they've got it in front of them. They don't have to open it, download it, and read back and forth. And then it says you will respond to 2 other students. That means you do peer revision on 2 other papers. A lot of people didn't do 2 other narratives. They only did 1 narrative, so they didn't get credit for doing 2. You only got half of those points. So make sure you read directions, or you listen to directions and follow them, okay? And it just says what is the name of the author of the essay. It helps if I know who you're doing. Is there a clearly stated thesis that includes the subjects and the criteria? That's what I've been seeing on the outlines, no criteria, or there's not a thesis given. Which method of development have they used? You can't use similarities and differences. If they did, you need to let me know. Block method or point-by-point alternating. Are transition words used to help the reader follow the train of thought? Does the conclusion provide a summary, a final thought, or both? And proofread the essay for second person. I don't know how many times I've said not to use you or your, and I'm still seeing you and your in essays. Remember, use the find button. Come on, help me out here. And are the lengths of the sentences varied? And edit for comma areas. And if the document is not formatted correctly, heading, not header, double spacing, paragraphs indented, please tell them to correct that. and that's what you do. So that's what's going on with that. So the point is, if you're interested in making extra credit, if you don't do the extra credit, you actually will lose 12. If you don't do the discussion board, you will lose, because it's worth 25 points, you'll lose 12 and a half points. So you get penalized. But you can get over 10% extra. All right, let me get rid of that. So now I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to go straight through what you've turned in for the outlines. So we start off with keenness, okay? And I'm just going to talk my way through them and tell you what I think. And you'll see your grade go right in. All right, so she's got thesis statement. Since 2020, students can criticize the differences of being an online or face-to-face scholar. Interesting ways to phrase it, but that'll work. So you're going to compare and contrast online and face-to-face, but you don't give the criteria. Do you see that there's an issue? The thesis statement must give the criteria. So absence of a face-to-face teacher while learning. So that's going to be instructor. Would you agree? So you need to put instructor up there as the first criteria. Influence of a responsible student who doesn't have to be pushed around. I'm not really sure what your criteria is there. Okay, so you're working alone, or is this responsibility for your second one? Think about that, okay? Benefits of being an online student and being provided with extra materials such as videos, articles, and internet. Okay, so that's the benefits, the extras you get with an online class, maybe. Advantage or benefits of a professor. Okay, so this is about the method of instruction. This is about who's teaching. Students are socially interactive and they create bonds with teachers or classmates. Are y'all making bonds with each other? Are you making bonds with me? You probably have established something with me. I don't know how well you're interacting with the other kids in the class, but you're all kids. And since 2020, many students now prefer having a traditional class. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's been shown that face-to-face, you learn more in a face-to-face class. That's one reason why we do ITV, because even though my face is way far away and on the screen, there are some benefits. So you need to get the thesis with the criteria in it, all right? Let's see, let me make this smaller. That's not making it smaller. Maybe it's down at the bottom. There it is, okay. I have to search around sometimes. Okay, so we're looking at Haley. All right, Haley girl. Let's see, many people enjoy, oh, you know what? Let me get my head back on together. There's a better way to do this. I'll just download the document. That makes it more sense, sorry. I've slept since yesterday. We're not even talking about, there's hallelujah in my house. The kitten ate hard, soft food, soft cat food versus just formula. So it was awesome yesterday. Okay, looks like Haley's got a lot going on here. That's good. Blow it up a little bit. Her thesis statement says, most people enjoy these two animes, but when comparing these two popular series, there are common things between them. That's a weak thesis. You don't give the subjects and you don't give the criteria. You have to have the subjects and the criteria in the thesis statement. Now I have to know she's going to be comparing Attack on Titan and what's the other one? I don't remember. My Hero Academia, okay. I've actually seen them on my Netflix app, but I have never watched either of them, so it'll be interesting. So the criteria are setting, characters, conflict. How wonderful that I gave you those things, right? Let me turn my phone off. Okay. So, and remember, Haley, that when you're talking about anything that's the title of a movie, a book, a TV show, you italicize it. So I'm just letting you know. So we've got main characters, Jaeger. Is that not interesting? Aren't Jaegers what they use in Pacific Rim? The big robots that battle the aliens that come through the underground, the underwater thing? Okay. So there may be some, so Shiga and Sheena. Okay. All right. So I can tell setting, characters, conflict. You can tell that what she has in her outline is pretty much an essay, isn't it? What I can't tell is if you're going to do block or alternating, point by point. So that it will be interesting to see that when you turn in your draft. Okay. So she's got a lot of information, particularly when it comes to characters. I would always put the one that you have the most information on, put it last. Traditional arguments when you're writing, you put your weakest point in the middle, the one you have the least information about. You put your strongest point last and the second strongest first, so that you're always leaving them with your best shot. The last thing the reader gets is whatever you have the best information on. All right. Good job, Haley. Except you need to fix the thesis. and I'm gonna actually type that in here. Thesis must give the subjects and the criteria, okay? All right, come back over here, we'll go on to the next one. I swear I hit submit, but it didn't submit. Okay, so we're going on to next. Next up is Odie. Okay. For years, service animals and emotional support animals have been confused with each other despite their vital differences. Okay, still need the criteria. So what you're telling me is you're doing similarities and differences. That's what that tells me, and I want to know exactly what you're looking at. Okay. Let's see, service animals. So there's no criteria listed under criteria, so it's a little tough. I have to try to figure it out. Service animals are trained animals to help medical conditions and other serious issues. And then it says service animals are trained to do certain tasks. Isn't that the same thing as, look at these two, they're the same. So your evaluative criteria, your first two are basically the same, watch out for that. They're certified service animal properly trained. So this is their accessibility, I guess might be your third criteria. The first criteria is training, and I'm not really sure what to do about a second one. Emotional support animals. My dogs and my little kitten are emotional support animals, definitely. Okay, wait. Are used more for affection and help their owner feel better by simply being there? ESAs don't have a specific job that they're trained for. Are they trained? I think is my question. Does somebody train an emotional support animal? Because I know no? I mean, mine are not trained, but boy, we have a helicopter dog parent for the kitten. The Chihuahua warns everybody, other dogs, when we had 4 dogs in our house on Sunday, and the Chihuahua was telling everybody to stay away from the kitten. It was like a helicopter parent. It was hilarious, okay? But, so if they don't have, let's see, they have few places that they are allowed into since they're not as vital as a service. They receive less federal protections under the ADA. So this is a good point about, and I would guess I would call that accessibility of that animal. Here, if it's what they're trained for, then if they're not trained for anything, that makes it kind of a hard criteria to do. And this is about the basic difference. That's just the definition is what your first one is. But you might want to talk about the types of animals that are used. I mean, are there particular breeds of dogs? You know what I'm saying? Are there particular breeds of dogs or cats or pigs? I mean, I've heard about people taking pigs on planes as their support animal. And a bird. So a little bit you need to work on there, okay? Because we've got 2 that are super close. And again, thesis statement has to give the criteria and the subjects and the criteria. Okay, but you get full credit because she turned in one. Okay. All right, Mackenzie. Let's see what's Mackenzie doing. As children, we loved our fiction books, not so much nonfiction. Although, no comma after although. Never put the comma after the subordinating conjunction. Although as years went by, the comma goes after by. Those bedtime stories became our studying till we fall asleep. Okay. I'm not really sure you're going to talk about, are you comparing and contrasting fiction and nonfiction? Okay, that's what it is. So fiction, each paragraph has a point or a different storyline. I don't know about that when it comes to fiction. Fiction can be used to make up feelings and bend the truth, tells the story based off of, okay, so the criteria, I'm stuck because I'm not sure what the criteria are. This has a plot from beginning to end. Nonfiction, the part about there being a plot, I think what you need to do is you need to come over here and change to your first one in this evaluative here. This needs to be purpose. What's the author's purpose in writing fiction or nonfiction? And there's really only 3 purposes: to entertain, to inform, or to persuade. Okay? So I think you ought to go with purpose. This is maybe evaluative try 2, judging, let's see. It is the basis based on what? You know, what is it based on? Is it truth, which is nonfiction tends to be true, depends on who's writing it, and fiction is made up. So that's the definition of the genre. Like this is, oh, sorry. This is genre. So you might look up the definition of genre for fiction and nonfiction, and then, well, that's kind of what you've done in both of these. You're shy of criteria, Mackenzie, okay? You need to work on that. If you're gonna compare fiction and nonfiction, so if you talk about the purpose, you can maybe talk about the types of books that you see, nonfiction, because there's lots of different genres in fiction. There are actually several genres in nonfiction. You have essays, you have opinion pieces, there's a lot of things out there. So maybe genres down there, and not genres, but the types or the types that they can be. Genre is where you talk about the genre, the overall genre maybe. Okay, so can you see that the reason I pushed everything back is because of that. What you're gonna see is you have I stopped, I didn't finish the thought on that. There's also changes made to week 7. You have on Monday, next Monday, we're gonna start argumentative, but on Tuesday, that's when your compare and contrast final is due, because we're not finishing that discussion board that's gonna be peer revision is not due until Sunday night. I need to give you some time to process it and write. So I'm giving you Monday to get it written and Tuesday, okay? I've changed the schedule. Did you not see the announcement? Okay. You need to go in and look at the weekly content for this week and next week. And then we're back on schedule. All right, so Mackenzie, you need to do some work on this, babe. Okay. So, thesis needs subjects and criteria. You know, you're trying to make the reader do way too much work. Okay. And remember, you can always give examples of what's fiction and nonfiction too. All right, Caleb, let's see what you got here. You came in just in time, didn't you? And Mason dropped the class, so. All right. Uh-oh. A new generation of gaming consoles have come into society. People argue. Okay, when you have a semicolon, you do not capitalize the first letter of the next word. It doesn't act like a period, okay? It's different. That's okay. No, I have consistently seen it. This is not the only time. I've seen it on lots of the narratives. Somebody used to put a semicolon in, and then they capitalize the first letter of the next word. The only time you capitalize is if it's a period or a proper noun. People argue that what the most powerful one is. Let's look at the spec. Okay, the problem with your thesis. Let's look at the specs. Let's means you and me, we're going to look at the specs. We don't address the reader. All information is from Microsoft's website and Sony's website. So, subject 1, Xbox Series. So you have to give the subjects and you have to give the criteria in the thesis. So this is your first evaluative criteria, just the basic computer information about the consoles. Okay, basic, see, I promise you I didn't put my cursor there. Basic stats on console, right? Okay, reduce load times, spinning and visuals, quick resume backwards capability for all Xbox generations. What is that?
Backwards compatibility.
No, I mean, what's the whole thing? What's your criteria there?
Well, I just like put down like different things.
You have to have a category that it fits. Are those the same things as this?
It's just the features it has.
Features, okay. See, you had to give me something. Okay. And then airflow channels, $500, whoa. So you've got a lot of other things in this. Airflow channels, does that mean you can go on?
It's just the cooling system, ventilation.
That needs to go over if it's the ventilation system, it needs to go over into basic stats on the console. Think about it, because that's what that is, right? So that's in the wrong spot. The price, spectacular exclusives, are we talking about games? Okay, then just make this about games. If it's got anything to do with the makeup, how the system runs, it goes in the first one, the basic stats. The second one are anything extra features it has. And we're missing that on this one. What, subject to PlayStation 5? What,
Couldn't find anything.
well, but if we go about the games that are available, does that allow you to see what we're talking about if you're gonna put the game? Okay, so you have to go see what games are available. And how much does it cost?
They didn't say.
Did you Google?
I did.
Okay, go back, fast loading times, you've got 4K gaming, built-in microphone, there's not a built-in, you have to have an external microphone for Xbox? Okay. All right, so make sure we're talking apples and apples. So if you talk about the microphone in one, you've got to mention it in the other. It has to be treated equally. That's the nature of compare and contrast, all right, Caleb? So you're gonna have to dig out there. Is the PlayStation 5 out yet even? Okay, it is? And they, okay, they're hard to come by because they're about, okay, but you can't find a price on it? You didn't look very hard if you can't find a price.
I looked up on the website, and there's nothing.
Well, I would avoid the website for the manufacturer because it's gonna depend on who the retailer is, right? Anybody have PlayStation 5? I just Googled, what's the cost of a PlayStation 5? Now for $1,000, whoa. I don't think I'll be getting that for anybody in my family. At QVC, buy now, it's a bundle, so you're getting a lot of stuff, but it's $999.96 at QVC.
That's the scout first price.
Yeah, that's, PlayStation 5 price in USA, $499, okay. Yeah, right, so, oh, you have both? Wow, let's all go play over at Reed's house, okay? Everybody's gaming at Reed's tonight. Or is that Rodney? You got them both. Oh, sheesh. So that's why you decided to go back to school, because you're tired of gaming, huh? Okay, all right, so, you gotta remember, you have to give the subjects, you have to give the criteria, the basics, the big framework, okay? So remember the one about the Honda Civic? When a consumer wants to choose between two gaming systems, they should consider, when consumers want to choose, I had to make sure my subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent was right. Between two gaming systems, they need to consider the basic features, the basic setup, where's it at? Is that it? Yeah. The exclusive features and the games that are available. I would stick the games in the middle. That's going to be a weak paragraph, okay? So that's what your thesis should look like. Okay. Death Standing. Okay, that must be a game that's available at Walmart or something. Sorry. I went into Walmart to look at the toys. I was in there for something else, and there's hardly any toys. It's like sad. Okay, there we go. All right, so. Okay. Thesis, needs, subjects, and criteria. And you know that you need to fix them, okay? All right, let's go on to the next one. Let's see. Rodney is up next. And look, he's doing something different. Sorry. He's not doing. And I don't have any problems with people comparing, gaming systems, they're important. All right. While both boxing and mixed martial arts are contact sports, mixed martial arts is more devastating and bloody art of hand-to-hand combat. So I'm still not sure what the criteria are, okay? Only punches can be thrown, okay, this is boxing, only punches can be thrown above the belt, standing only. Okay, so this is the arena, I guess is what I'd call that, the second one, where you fight, steel cage, average size of boxing gloves. That's equipment. Ooh. Equipment / coaching. Do you see what I just did? I just added more information to that. Because in boxing, you have a coach that's right there. Well, they're not standing, when you're actually boxing, they're not standing there, but they're accessible, and in between rings they can do it. Or maybe you need to talk about, do you talk at all about how it's fought? Meaning, how many rounds, how long are the rounds, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's all in the beginning one, the fighting style.
The fighting styles, is that what that is? Okay. See, I would not have said that. Okay, so, All right, so, but if it's fighting styles, then that means, then you need to make sure, I don't see that there, okay? The arena, steel cage, okay. Average size of 4 ounce to 7 ounce, are those the gloves? Is that what you're talking about? So, don't focus on what they share. If you wanna talk about that in the intro, give a little bit of the information. Both sports are in countries all over the world and have some of the highest paid athletes. That's okay, that can go in the introduction, but let's focus on the differences in the body paragraphs, okay? I'm not gonna send you that, I just wrote that in there so you could see it, okay? All right, let's see. Not Ned's. Did you have the subjects in there? Okay, I'll make sure it's in there. I just put it on there. 'Cause what I'm seeing is that we're just kind of not okay, let's go. That's strange. Oh, it's still processing. I need to look for the swirly ball up at the top, sorry. I get impatient occasionally with stuff like this. I got home yesterday, was doing all this work, grading essays, putting in the grades, and then all of a sudden it shut down and I could not get my computer to come back on where I could get to anything. So I just graded some essays at home. And it drove me crazy. And I came in this morning thinking I wasn't gonna have my computer I could use, but I managed to get it working, so. It doesn't like not being shut down correctly for some reason. Emily, you're up next. Let's see here. Scroll over. Okay. All right, so what I'm seeing, so I'm not trying, okay. Watercolor and oil, both are very beautiful art form, yet so different in nature. Okay, first thing, thesis must be a complete sentence. No criteria. Thesis needs the criteria. Okay, so, how it is made, hey, at least you've got that up there. Okay. Oh, I imagine you just copied it and put it in the submission box and then filled it in. That's what she did, okay. How it is made, how much control you have over it. You, remember, no second person, price. Okay, I'm sitting here, watercolor, mix of pigment and gum arabic, move with fluidity and work with players. But don't you have to work quickly with watercolor because it'll dry, right? Okay. The price, I don't see a price. I see watercolor, ignoring quality, is pretty cheap, and even rich pigment is pretty cheap. Give me a price. If you're gonna talk about price, I need numbers. The mix of dry powder and linseed oil for stiff consistency. More permanent, what you put down is opaque, okay. And more pricey, yet the quality is solid and the paint is more of a paste. You're gonna have a hard time with what you've got here of giving, you know what I'm saying, of getting 600 words. And let me tell you, I have noticed that some of you are really stretching to get 500 words on the narrative, so be careful. If you add stuff, it needs to be relevant. Don't just put stuff in there because you've got to have 500 word minimum, 600 word limit minimum. You have to have content in those words too. So, I'm seeing the bare minimum. I hope you have more to write about it, okay, Emily? Because right now, what you've got is gonna be hard to get 600 words. That's all I'm saying. Okay. But it says, make sure you have, thesis needs criteria as well, as the subjects. And it's gotta be a complete sentence. Okay, we're up to Adrian. Yo, Adrian, where are you? Yo, Adrian! So, one person, two people smiled. Anybody else get the reference? Rocky. The movies. Okay, sorry. I stopped watching after about Rocky 3. That was too many. Okay, here we go. Adrian, the differences in availability, hardware, and exclusive options between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. Okay. Hey, Caleb picked his head up. Somebody else is doing it. Okay. All right. That's not a thesis statement. It says the difference. It's not even a complete sentence. Okay. So you're gonna have to say, when consumers are choosing a gaming console, they need to consider, and then you give the 3 criteria. Okay. The availability, hardware, and exclusive options. So that's his 3 categories, not exactly the same as yours. Okay? So we see, let me hit enable editing, that makes it bigger. How easy and affordable it is to get a PlayStation 5, but I'm just hearing that it's not easy to get a PlayStation 5. It's not easy, okay. So make sure you've got the cost, the parts used to make the PlayStation 5. It's not really about the parts, it's all the things that make up the hardware and, isn't it software too?
It's the chips.
The chips, okay. And they're having trouble getting chips,
It's the
you know,
chips.
it's the chips that are the problem, okay. Exclusive options only found on the PlayStation 5, how easy and affordable it is to get. Can you get Xbox Series X?
Same
Same
thing.
issue? Okay. The parts used to make it, okay. Exclusive options, you have bare minimum, but I know there's more information out there about these. So, and I'm going with the notion that when you're talking about gaming consoles, like with phones, there's some things are only available on by certain manufacturers. So, Nintendo is PlayStation? Okay, right? Nintendo's PlayStation, so you can get the Nintendo games for that. And so, but I know there are series when it comes to games, and sometimes they're exclusive to one or the other manufacturers, correct? Does anybody make one version for Xbox and one for PlayStation? Has anybody done that with their games? Or are the manufacturers of the game systems forcing you to go with one or the other? That's well, don't you think maybe some of the gaming Xbox or Nintendo are forcing people to make a choice? That's why I just get apps on my phone, and that's why I'm gonna stay with the iPhone forever. Okay, so make sure you've got the criteria and the criteria. He's got it, but make sure thesis is a complete sentence. Let me phrase it that way. All right, Adrian? Yo, Adrian. Okay, don't say. All right. Make sure thesis is a complete sentence. All right, Michaela. All righty, let's see. All right, so this will be interesting. This is about medicine or homedics, or is that natural remedies versus medicines? Okay. So side effects, there are always multiple side effects with medicines, yes. Poisoning, wouldn't that be a side effect? Don't you think poisoning would be a side effect? Number of ingredients used. What about maybe availability or cost? Maybe that might be better. Tell me I put on the computer screen, okay? Guys have to remind me, because I'm looking at you. I don't look up at the screen that often anymore. I think poisoning is going to be a side effect, okay? Usually contain only one highly concentrated active ingredient. Use natural ingredients so that effects are never a problem. All right, so again, this is a weak thesis. There are major differences between medicines and natural remedies. That's a weak thesis. It needs to say, when a patient needs to make a decision between prescription medicine and natural remedies, he or she should consider the side effects, the number of ingredients used, and the cost. Because a lot of times, the natural remedies are going to be much less expensive. Okay? Okay. All right, so you're almost there. You just got to have the criterion in there, too. Hold on, let me see. Ooh, I got to turn in my book adoptions. I know I haven't done that yet. Okay, for next semester. Already, we have to have book adoptions in. Thesis has the criteria. Okay. See, we're at time-wise. Yeah, I'm gonna get through everybody's that turned it in, so. Okay, Reed did his a little bit differently. Not a problem, Reed.
I had to go home this weekend and I accidentally left my bag here instead of doing my mom's computer.
Well, so you didn't know how to get into Blackboard or what?
I mean, I got into Blackboard, but like I couldn't figure out anything else.
Well, let me show you. It should be there. If it isn't, I'm gonna feel bad. It was there yesterday. When you go into week 6, and you scroll down, well, by golly, it's not there. I actually have a link to the document. The folder's not even here, so you did well considering because I have it available in my Monday, Wednesday classes, but not in y'all, so that's my fault, okay? That's okay, well, and that's, you see the advantage in me putting it back and doing this with you guys today. So, his thesis statement says, I have to make it bigger. Cars and trucks are very different, but also similar in many ways. Okay, that's that weak thesis. EC is a value criteria one, cars drive and feel way better than trucks and are a lot more smooth of a ride. So you're talking about the quality of the ride. So that would be your criteria. Trucks, okay, cars, most cars are only rear wheel drive and have no off-road capability. All right, D, what do we call how it's driven and where it's suitable to be driven? What do we call that? I'm asking for help. Come on, Mr. Hunter. You weren't driving a Jeep when you were doing that, I'm sure, since you were what, only? Your criteria for cars? Most cars are only rear-wheel drive, many trucks have four-wheel drive and have upgradable off-road accessories. So what do we call that? The type of drive? Yeah, we've got to come up with need to come up with a title for that category that you're evaluating by. Why don't we just talk about, to have off-road capability, you have to have four-wheel drive, so let's call it off-road capability, all right? And then that becomes the category, and you can say, some cars have it, and, because a Jeep would have it, right? So, some cars have it, so you're gonna have to kind of work with that. So I would call it off-road capabilities, and then you're doing gas mileage, or, is that just mileage will work? Okay, so fix that, all right. Yeah, it'll work, and I will make a point of getting that document between classes. I'll put that in this one in case anybody wants to do it. All right, next up is Catherine. Let me shrink it. Maybe. Oh, all right. Did you send that to me in a course message, Catherine? I'm going into course messages really quick. Oh, wow. Okay. Xavier's got 2 outlines. Oh, he's done 6:37 in the morning, okay. Late work, learn outline, color crossing, T table, okay. All right. So what I'm seeing, Catherine, is a blank document. So I have no idea what you're doing, so you need to give me something, okay? Let's make it smaller. What is going on here? Yeah, it was just blank. Okay. So obviously I can't give you a grade on a blank document, so don't save. All right. Come here. No, I don't want it to say what it is. I hate that when I accidentally do that. Let me come out here so you're not, at least you're not watching me try to get to it. All right, I'll just go into grade book over here. Not what I wanted to be in. Okay. It looks like let's exit out of that. I don't know what I've done, but I've messed up something really strange in there. I just kept losing everything. Okay, so we're up to Austin. Okay. Somehow I put in where it will read it to me. Diesel or gas? Which fuel is more effective and which is best for economical use? All right, so your thesis can't be a question. Has to be a sentence. So, subject 1. Okay, actually diesel goes over under subject and gas goes over under subject. So you've only got 2 criteria. So you're trying to do advantages and disadvantages, which I'm not crazy about. Okay, so Okay, I'll talk about the advantages of diesel fuel as well as the disadvantages of it. I don't know what the criteria are, there's nothing given to me except vague statements. I'm gonna be honest, Austin. And this is just, there's nothing in there for me to know what you're gonna do. I have no criteria, I just know you wanna compare and contrast gas and diesel. So, cost, maybe the environmental negatives, cost, the economy, economical cost choice, I don't wanna see advantages and disadvantages, I wanna see criteria. All right, Austin? Let's see, let me close that PDF. Sorry. Jocelyn, let's see. Looks like Jocelyn's gonna do books and movies. All right, so books and movies are very similar in multiple ways. I can read a book and I can read a movie. You can't read a movie. You watch a movie, okay? But there's no first person. This is not about you. It's about the subjects. And I'm glad that you did that so I could bring that point up. I should not be in this. I don't want to know what you think of them. You are evaluating books, you're evaluating movies. No first person whatsoever, no you or you're in this essay. Those are major errors, okay? Let's see, movies and TV in general have always been a source of entertainment. Okay, so, all right, so you're talking about the benefits is what I think you're actually saying here in your first criteria. What are the benefits of watching a movie? What are the benefits of reading a book? All right, so be careful on that. The second criteria, people prefer to waste, is the amount of time it takes to, or the time commitment to the medium. You get what the medium is, whether you're watching a movie or reading a book. Obviously, movies are quicker, okay? And then, okay, but you've got it, guess what, look at your criteria. A movie is, you say, people prefer to waste 2 hours watching a movie and then take a few days to finish a book. Then you say a movie is usually limited by time. Okay, that's the same criteria. They're not the same things. So you might need to discuss possibly, what constraints time puts on it. And I understand most people prefer to watch movies, but when you limit yourself to only 2 hours in a movie, what do you lose from the book that's not in there? So how does that time constraint affect what you're seeing on the screen versus what you're reading in a book? So you only have 2 criteria right now, so you need a third one. Okay, so. Okay. All right, let's see, we're up to Kellyanne. Okay, it's downloading. Yay. All right, that's another blank one, it's not filled in. Wait, there was a course message from you, wasn't there? I'm thinking, hold on. Let me get rid of the boxing and the mixed martial arts from Rodney. Let's go back over here. Okay. Maybe I'm getting there. Course messages. I'm just so unused to, I don't like the white menu on the side, but they didn't ask, I told them I didn't like it, but they said it doesn't matter, you have to do that now. So, I like buttons where I can see them. Okay. No, I don't have one. Oh. Okay. I don't have, Kellyanne, I don't have anything from you and it's not filled out, so you're gonna have to get that done. Okay, so, why did I do that? Okay, so I cannot grade something that's blank. So we go on down to Caden.
Miss, I did it.
Hold on a second. Say that again, I'm moving over here. What did you say?
I did it, but apparently it didn't save it.
I can only grade what you submit, okay? So you'll need to, if you want some help to make sure you're doing it right, you'll have to get that in. Okay, so this is Caden's writing about marching band and concert band. Okay. So band is a timeless thing. That's a pretty much say nothing statement, right? But it gets you started. But it's broken down into two main things, marching, concert band. In my opinion, marching band is better than concert band. Okay, the other thing, I'm glad you did that. In your thesis statement should not say which one's better than the other. You save that for the conclusion. But we need to know the evaluative criteria, okay? All right, marching band, it's not a fast-paced thing, it's a fast-paced, P-A-C-E-D, okay? So, it's slow and take a different and dumb down. I'm not sure what you mean by dumb down, okay? All right, so maybe your first criterion is the performance time. Maybe that's what that is over here, so this should maybe be performance time. This is the show, the visual, right. I promise you, I thought I put it in this one. Visual spectacle. And it so doesn't take as much time. That's criteria 3 and criteria 1 are the same thing. I don't know, let's see if it's so much more time consuming, it just gives a show for your ears. Okay, so visual, how about visual, auditory spectacle? How about, do you see what I did? I now allowed you to say that the focus in marching band is visual, but guess what? It's not. They also care how you sound when you're marching at contests. Whereas when you are performing in concert, it is strictly about the sound and the interpretation of the music, because you can focus on that more because you're not trying to move your feet at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So that, which depends a lot more on the conductor. It's slow and take, okay. So some of your stuff doesn't quite make sense, but you've got to come up with a third criteria, okay? You might talk about aren't there slightly different instruments used? There are some instruments that are not used in marching band that are used in concert band. Yeah, so.
They're the same instrument, but one's designed for marching band.
Yeah, and the other's designed for, okay, so, see, we've got our resident band person over here. Band was not quite as complicated when I was in it, so you need to give us, if I could type, the criteria are in the thesis statement, okay? Jocelyn, did you finally get what I sent you? I'm sorry I didn't get your course message. I was doing other stuff, okay? But I do want to say that, if you want to share that one, I actually put the Star Wars and Star Trek one into the table form and sent it to her in an email yesterday, a course message yesterday. Let me see. There's the sample. And all I did was take what I had on the page and on that page and do it. So this shows you what it would have looked like if I'd shown it in the table. There's your thesis statement. Here's the subject one, Star Trek, and I actually filled in some information. Notice I also put arrows in it to show you that I was going to do alternating. You didn't have to do that, okay? But that's how it would look. And I didn't use complete sentences, but you can tell that there's a lot of information in there, okay? And I'll tell you what, I'm going to sit this. Oh, wait, let me hit cancel. Let me close it. I'm going to put this into your, give me a second here. Let me go into course content for week 6, and I'll put it in there for you right now.